This is LA Lloyd's Rock 30.
Hey, it's L.A. Lloyd, and well, it's been a bit since I had Spencer from Ice Nine Kills co-host the Rock 30. Last time we talked was July 2022, and I just seen you a few months earlier there with Metallica and Greta Van Fleet at Allegiant Stadium in Vegas. So we got a little bit of catching up to do, man. So great to see you today.
Great to see you too, man. We're out here on tour all June in Europe doing these really cool festivals. We played last night with such an eclectic blend. It was us and Perfect Circle and Offspring and The Cure. And it was
Wow.
just, yeah, it was in Austria. It was this festival called Nova Rock, and it was one of the craziest shows we've ever played. It was really awesome.
That's pretty cool, man. Well, speaking of Download Fest, while you're there in the UK, it must be really cool seeing how the fans continue to grow there, especially, after your recent Silver Screen Con UK that happened back in December of last year at the Cumberland Hotel in London. Have you seen this kind of steady growth, or has it been more of this really, wow, we went from here to here like overnight over there?
It's a little bit of both, if that makes sense. We've been playing overseas. I want to say for about 10 years we've been coming over here. Um, and we've started to increase the times that we go throughout the last 5 years. Like we've been hitting it a lot harder. But it started off, I would say, as a slow build, where we were starting to feel like, 300, 400 cap rooms, and we were like very excited about that, the second time back, and to now be playing, a festival in front of one probably like 15,000 people were watching us last night, and we headlined this particular stage. So it's not like they were waiting for the band after us. So it was cool to see that growth. We headlined the Wembley Arena this past December, which was crazy. I think there was like the arena holds like 10,000. I think it was sold out or close to it. It's
Yeah.
it's been incredible, and we really like coming back here.
Well, at what point, having Silver Screen Con there in London, at what point did you realize that this has become something, much bigger than, a weekend event, the way that it started, on the scale it did to what has become today?
I think, just the reality that we started it off at a small hotel in, outside of Boston, Massachusetts, a DoubleTree hotel, and played a small show down the road in Beverly, Massachusetts at this, small, like, 900,000 cap venue called the Cabot Theater. To, when we did the con last year in Massachusetts, we moved to the DCU Center, a place that I grew up seeing, some of my first arena rock shows. Like I saw the first Family Values tour there with Korn and Limp Bizkit in '98. And so from going to like playing, smaller clubs, which we love doing, to, headlining an arena, in North America, and then across the pond at Wembley, I think it really is humbling, and we're just really excited to see the growth. And the most important thing is that everyone's having a good time in the band, in our camp, and most importantly, in the audience. So we have a ton of fun doing it, and we couldn't be more pleased with how it's going.
For sure. And, 2026 kind of is a little bit of a milestone for you, 20 years since the release of Last Chance to Make Amends. When you stop and look at everything that's happened over the last 20 years or so, what's kind of the part of the journey that maybe surprises you most or has been the most impactful to you?
I think there's so many things that are running through my mind, Bill, with a question like that. But to me, like the two most impactful things, if you break down what Ice Nine Kills does in two parts, it's the music, and it's the horror slash comedy, And two of my biggest influences since I was a little kid were Metallica and Scream. And the fact that we have gotten a cosign from both of those entities, two entities that we respect the hell out of, to the point where we're on tour with Metallica, playing in stadiums across the world, and in the new Scream movie with our song in the closing credits. It's like you can't write this kind of thing. And I'm so thankful that we get to do this. There are a million bands out there tons of bands that are just as good as us, if not better, and somehow we've managed to accomplish these things, and I'm just so proud and thankful.
Yeah, and along with the show that I saw you guys at Vegas, you went on to do like 50 more shows or so, and it's really cool that you mentioned Metallica as it leads into my next question because that really is, what was the lesson, if there was one, you learned from Metallica that had, absolutely nothing to do with music?
One of the biggest things that we learned from them is how well they treat the bands that open for them. Um, when going into playing with a band like Metallica, you have no idea. This is one of the biggest bands of all time, indisputably one of the biggest bands of all time, certainly the biggest metal band of all time. And so you have no idea, if you're going to see them ever, or they just get on stage and we'll never see them. Either way, we'd be indebted to them for life, right? But they're the kind of guys. We go into our dressing room the first night. There was this bottle of champagne and a cake that said, welcome to the circus or something like that. They all introduced themselves to us. I think within the first couple of shows, they would watch our set. They would invite us to dinner sometimes after. And that really stuck with me. You should treat every band um, the same with respect, no matter if they're the smallest band in the world or the biggest. And that's one of the biggest things that we learned from them, other than playing in the stadium, which we had never done, in the round, which is such a different monster altogether. But definitely learned a lot from playing those scale shows, and I think it's helped us when we go on to these other huge festivals. We kind of are a little bit seasoned from having done the stadium thing, which again, something that what percentage of bands ever get to say they played in a stadium, let alone with Metallica all over the world.
Indeed, man. And going back to horror, your other love, why do you think it is the younger generation just continues to connect so deeply with horror? Because to me, it seems like the genre is as big as it ever was, if not bigger.
I think from the beginning of horror, back to the Universal days, the classic Universal monsters, whether it's Dracula or Frankenstein. I think it's a roller coaster, but it's a safe one. It allows you to flirt with danger, flirt with your own mortality in a safe way. Because you could go into a theater and you could be scared out of your wits and be screaming, but at the end of the night, you're walking out of the theater and it was all make believe. And I think that if you sort of boil it down to that on just a cellular level, I don't think that will ever not be something that people want to do. And there's ebbs and flows like within any genre. Um, but yeah, I'm so glad to see horror bigger and stronger than ever.
It's kind of funny that you mentioned being in the round and playing on the Metallica stage was kind of a monster in itself, which I had a question about that, that you've written about many fictional monsters, but, what do you think is the real monster? And what I mean by that, the monster that you have to deal with in everyday life?
I think it's just getting through life. Life, doesn't matter if you're in the biggest band in the world or you're extremely successful, or the exact opposite. Everybody goes through hardships in life, and I think you just have to find a way to look on the positive and the bright side of things, and not be too consumed with the darkness, and use things like music and movies as a form of escape, and that's what we try to create for people.
Yeah, and every time I've spoken with you, I just love to see the excitement in your eyes when you talk about horror flicks and stuff like that. Do you ever have moments where you kind of look around and realize that now you're no longer a guest in the horror culture, but you're actually starting to be one of these individuals who are shaping it as we move forward?
It's crazy to me. I mean, I've started to do conventions just outside of our own convention, the Silver Scream Con, where I fly to various places around the country, around the world, and sit beside these people that I've admired since I was a little kid. Just a few weeks ago, I did a convention called Texas Frightmare in Dallas, and Skeet and Matt Lillard from the original Scream, idols of mine who have since become friends of mine, and during that convention, there was a 30th year anniversary screening that they were hosting. So there was this big movie theater on the last night of the convention, sold out, a few thousand people,
Uh,
and they were there to provide commentary during the movie. You know, they had these two microphones, and they were speaking the entire time through the movie, and got up at the end of the movie and took questions, and they brought me on stage because
that's
you
awesome.
know, and, you know, I'm looking around and I'm thinking, what, you know, what am I doing here? And so, you know, that was one of those moments like, is this real? Is this really happening? I think it just shows you, like, if you have something that you want to accomplish, if you have dreams, you gotta follow them. And if I listen to every person who said we never make it, or you know, that I, you know, should go back to school, or, you know, give up the band thing. You know, if I had a nickel for every time I heard that, I'd have a lot of nickels.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And having Twisting the Knife in Scream 7, I mean, there's so much goes along with a movie in the process. But again, it kind of just makes me feel like, wow, I need to kind of step back for a second and really absorb this and take it all in that I'm actually a part of this now.
It's crazy. It was crazy. There were a couple events leading up to the premiere of Scream 7, which we went to and walked the red carpet, which was incredible in and of itself. But there was one party that happened a few days before the premiere. It was to celebrate Matthew Lillard's Ghostface Vodka that he was releasing the same week, which is a really cool collaboration he does with his liquor brand, Macabre Spirits. And I get to the party, and Matt said to me, he goes, Have you ever met Kevin?" And he was talking about Kevin Williamson, the guy who, you know, created with Wes Craven the Scream franchise, wrote the first four, directed part seven. I said, no, I mean, he's a hero of mine. He goes, come over here. You're going to meet him right now. And I go over to meet Kevin Williamson, you know, a guy who created one of the movies that's influenced my entire career. And he said, I saw you from across the room. I wanted to meet you because I want to tell you how good I think that song is that you did for my movie. And he starts singing the chorus of Twisting the Knife. And I'm just thinking to myself,
Wow.
you know, how many times I've repeated this guy's dialogue that he's written, you know, to friends, you know, just saying this because like a part of my everyday life, the stuff he's written. And it was a real moment. It was incredible.
Yeah, and that song is really special. Obviously, you get to be connected with the Scream franchise, but outside of that, and the moment you had there where he was singing the song beyond the charts and the streams and all the attention the song is getting right now, what is it about that song that really kind of stands out to you? Not comparing it to your previous work, but something really special about this one, I'd say.
I think you can't talk about this song without talking about a few things, and one of which Independent Grace, who is not only a fantastic actor who I've admired for quite a while. The first thing I saw her in was I, Tanya, you know, that movie about like the Tanya Harding thing, which is a
Yeah.
great movie. And she played, you know, little Margot Robbie, little Tanya Harding, and from that moment I was like, this kid's got it. And not only is she a great actress, she an incredible voice. I'd never heard anyone sing so beautifully, just, you know, in the box, in the room, without any of the studio trickery or any of that crap. So she brought this beautiful energy to the song, which I think really embodies the not only the spirit of Scream, but the character of Sidney Prescott. You know, it's this vulnerable sort of girl next door, but also combined with this powerful resilience, which really encapsulates the Sidney Prescott character, and has made, Sidney Prescott, you know, one of the greatest final girls in a horrible special. And then secondly, you can't talk about Scream without talking about Marco Beltrami, who composed the scores for most of the Screams, and in my opinion is one of the best composers of all time. And we definitely try to emote that kind of Marco Beltrami sort of vibe throughout it. And we also got to meet him at the premiere, and he was very complimentary about the song. So that was another big moment for me. So I think those two elements help really make it special. And then the
Yeah.
video, which, you know, getting to work with McKenna, getting to work with David Arquette, who is such a consummate professional, and then bringing in this other influence we have because we're invested in horror, but we're big comedy people. And one of the biggest comedy influences from the 90s for us was the Jerky Boys,
Right.
another 90s icon that revolves around the telephone. So the fact that we were able to get Johnny Brennan in the video, who of course is Frank Rizzo and the Jerky Boys, among many other characters, and get the killer from Scream, Ghostface, on the phone with him, Roger L. Jackson, the actual Ghostface voice since the beginning, was incredible.
Right. Well, that's so cool, man. Frank Rizzo. That's who I am. I love the Jerky Boys, man. It's such a good
Open your ears, jackass.
That's so good. Every successful project starts with somebody seeing something that maybe nobody else does. Was there ever a point, your vision for Ice Nine Kills was completely crystal clear in your mind, man, but maybe at the beginning, everybody didn't quite see it that way.
Well, we've been a band, since I was 14, and I just turned 40 this year. So, we didn't really have a clear vision until around, I want to say about 10 years ago. I think for the first, several, or first decade of our career, we were too focused on what everyone else was doing. And we were too concerned about it. How do we get a record deal? We thought with that's what we got to do. What's popular. And as soon as I stopped caring about what was popular and just did our own thing, that's when we found success. And I think that's the mantra that we'll always live by, whether it's the art we do in our music or what we do with um, our videos, which are little movies. Don't follow the crowd. Uh, See what the crowd is doing and run in the opposite way.
Going back to McKenna Grace just a bit, I saw a couple of publicity photos that you had of you and the band, and of course she was in the photo with you. Everyone's in the same style of suit and dressed really cool. It was just such a great publicity photo. I really loved it. And with that said, I was just really curious, how much emphasis you do put on the vision of the band and the image, if you will, instead of just throwing on a pair of jeans and t-shirt, walk on stage and do the thing, or just making a band video, something like that.
Yeah, I think that we put a lot of care into it. There were plenty of bands that I loved growing up that didn't do that kind of stuff, and it's not for everybody. But the way that we look at our band is we look at it more as more of a film franchise, and we're playing characters, and there's a story. So for us, it wouldn't make any sense to just jump up there in a t-shirt and shorts in the summer, although it would be more comfortable. Um,
Or what?
yeah, so we put a lot of thought into stuff, when we're editing the video right now. I'm not sure when will this interview air?
This is going to air in about 10 days or so.
Okay, so I can talk about it now. We're tomorrow it's gonna sort of the cat's gonna be out of the bag that we're also doing an official collaboration with this very, very popular horror video game called Dead by Daylight.
Hmm.
And we did this incredible video for it, and I'm editing it now. And like the attention to detail that we pay is a little bit obscene, like probably stuff that no one will recognize. But to us, the devil's in the details. And this next video, I think, is really going to be incredible for people to see. And the cameo that we got blew our minds because we're doing a music video with a storyline, and it's about video games. And I was thinking, who could we get that's like the most iconic video game person in history? And I was like, Tony Hawk. And you know what? Tony
Wow.
Hawk's in the video, and he was
Yeah.
so cool. And I'm really excited for people to see that and how we sort of weave that into the storyline.
Well, you may have answered my final question, but I'll throw it at you anyway and see if there's anything you want to add to it, outside of checking off all the boxes we've talked about today. Is there a next mountain, or, what is the next one for Spencer Charnas to climb and get to the next level?
Oh man, it's like we've accomplished far as surpassed even our wild expectations, man. So to us, everything else is sort of icing on the cake. But we want to continue. All you can do is continue to try to top yourself with the music and the visuals that we create, and not worry about other bands or other movie, like comparing ourselves to other bands or their success. We just focus on us and being the best band that we can, and hopefully our fans love it.
Yeah. Well, hey, man, I appreciate you taking the time today. It's been kind of cool watching your video as you're moving along right now while we're doing the interview live today, and the time difference we have between here in the UK, where I'm based at in Austin. So best of luck on everything, man. You're doing it all right, man. I'm a big fan, and every time I get a chance to talk with you, I always learn something new about you, man. So Godspeed, and hope to see you down the road.
Thank you so much, man. We really appreciate the support, and it's always a pleasure.
All right. Take care. We'll see ya.
Take care, buddy. Bye, Lloyd.